Improving your listening skills can be in a variety of ways. It can be by listening to something in English like songs and conversation, 3 to 5 minutes per day. A good listening lesson gives you a chance to listen to the materials multiple times. Each time you listen to any kind of material, you should be listening for main ideas. Well, today we'll be discussing TOEFL listening comprehension sections. Let's do it. Alright, thank you so much for joining our class today, online class. Today we're discussing the TOEFL, especially listening comprehension section. So the first section of the TOEFL test is the listening comprehension section. It consists of 50 questions. You will listen, record the materials, and respond to the question about the materials. Remember, you must listen carefully because you will hear the recording one time only. Well, I have divided this presentation into 6 parts. Okay, the first one will discuss listening comprehensions in brief, and then listening strategy part A questions, and then skill 1 restatements, skill 2 negatives, and then skill 3 suggestions, and then the last is conclusion. Well, there are 3 parts in the listening comprehension section of the TOEFL test. The first part is part A, short conversations, each followed by a question. You must choose the best answer to each question. And then part B, 2 longer conversations, each followed by a number of questions, and you must choose the best answer. And then the last is part C, the 3 talks, each followed by a number of questions, and then you must choose the best answer to each question from 4 choices in your test book. Alright, here is an example from the listening part A question. Okay, for each of the 30 questions in part A of the listening comprehension section, you will hear a short conversation between 2 speakers, followed by a question, like this. And the conversation questions are not written, so they're not written in your test book. Okay, now let's just see how we analyze this. Well, from the second speaker, we see, the first speaker, I need a car to drive to Arizona and I don't have one. So we have the word a car to drive, a car here. And on the second speaker, the woman says, why not rent one? So we have the keyword rent one here, or rent here. And the best choice for this question is the answer D, renting a car for the trip. Why is it this way? I'll explain it later on with 3 theory. Okay, before we go on to the strategies and exercises, I'd like to show you general strategies in listening comprehension part A. So the general strategies are, first, be familiar with the direction. And the direction on every TOEFL test are the same. So it's not necessary to listen carefully to them each time. You should be completely familiar with direction before the day of the test. And then you must listen carefully to the conversation and talks. Concentrate fully on what the speakers are saying on the recording, because you will hear the recording one time only. And then know where the easier and more difficult questions are generally found. Within each part of the listening comprehension section, The questions generally progress from easy to difficult. And then never leave any question blank in your answer set. Even if you're unsure of a correct response, if you're not certain about the correct answer, you should answer question. There's no penalty for guessing. And then the last is use any remaining time to look ahead. This is important. So when you finish with one question, you may have time to look ahead at the answer to the next question. Okay, now let's begin with skill 1, that is restatements. Well, in many cases, correct answers on the restatement is that it contains a restate of an ideas from the second line of the conversation. As an example, here we have on our recording, there are two speakers. The first person says, Steve, is something the matter? And then you don't look very good. And the second speaker say, oh, I'm feeling a little sick today. And here is the choices. From the first A, he's not very good looking, he's a bit ill, he looks worse than he feels, and then his speech are a little thick. So in these conversations, sick means ill, and a little means a bit. So the best answer to the question is, therefore, answer B. Because answer B restates the ideas in the second line of the dialogue. And then please take note that E is definitely not a correct answer. Why? Because it contains the word fit, the word fit instead of feel, and thick instead of sick. So these words are similar or similar sound. We sometimes call it as a trap because the clearest word you hear sometimes, what is it? It's distract your attention, and you may think it's the right answer. Okay, here is the outlines of the most important strategies in listening part A. So what's that? The first is that as you listen to the second lines of the conversation, focus on the key ideas in the line. And then strategy 2, if you see a restatement of the key idea or ideas in a particular answer, then you have probably found the correct answer. And the third, you don't choose answer with words that sound similar to the word on the recording. Alright, here is an example of an exercise on the restatement question. So you must read the instruction very careful when you're doing the exercise, like this. So look at the word in this exercise, underline the key ideas in the second line of each answer. Choose the best answer to this question. Remember that the best answer is probably the answer that contains a restatement of the key ideas in the second line of the conversation. That's the direction. Alright, and then from a recording you will hear like this. There are two speakers. The first is a woman. What do you like about your new house? And then the second speaker will answer or respond, it's very close to a park. There's a narrator would give you the question, what does the man mean with that? And then here is the choices in your textbook. You have A, B, C, and D. So analyze this. When you got the keyword from the second speaker, what is it? It's very close to a park, so the word close seems to be the keyword. And now we'll look at the choices. So from these choices, the house is close up now is not the right answer. And then his park is close to his house also is not right answer. And his home is near a park. The word near seems to be the restatement of the word close to. So C is the correct answer. Right, now we move to skill 2 for negatives. Here's an example. On the recording you hear, dialogues from two speakers. The first speakers say, "Did you get a lot of work done at the library today?" And the second speaker, "I couldn't, it wasn't very quiet there." From this question, you have four options here. So what should we do now is that we must find out the keyword from the second speaker. So the word "I couldn't" is negative. It wasn't very quiet. It's also negative. So how do you find these ideas into the option? So if you look at these choices, the library was noisy. He got a lot done, and then he couldn't quite get to the library today. And then the library is a good place to work because it's quiet. So what do you think is the best answer? Yes, you're right. The correct choice is A. The library was noisy. Why? Because the word noisy has the same meaning as it wasn't very quiet. Alright, here are some examples of how negative sentences can be tested on the TOEFL part A. So when you look at this is an example. Tom is not sad about the result. So we see for negative is not sad. So Tom is happy about the result. So not sad means happy. Sorry, means happy. And then next, the door isn't open. The same as the door is closed. So not open means closed. Another example, Steve did not pass the class. Did not pass the class. It means that Steve failed the class. So the phrases did not pass, the same as failed. Here we come to our last skill discussion. That is skill 3, suggestions. Suggestions is a very common question on the listening comprehension part A. You're given a short talks from two persons. Okay, the first speaker say, "I haven't talked with my parents in a while." And then respond by the second speaker by saying, "Why don't you call them now?" What does the woman mean? As usual, you're given four choices. Well, in this example, the expression "why don't hear," the word "why don't hear" is an expression of suggestion. So the woman's suggestion is to call them. This means that the woman suggests phoning his family. So the best answer for this, therefore, is D. Phoning his family. Here's the list of common expressions of suggestion. We have three only here. Why not, and then why not again, and then let's. And now we have a little exercise for this. As an example, from the recording you hear, the first speaker says, "The weather is so beautiful today." And the second speaker say, "Let's walk to school instead of driving." From the narrator you would hear, what does the woman suggest? And here are four choices. A. Taking the car to school, taking a walk instead of going to school, and going for a drive in the beautiful weather, and in D. Walking to class. So in this example, the expressions of "let's walk" is an expression of suggestion. So what do you think is the best choice for this? So if you look at these choices, the best choice goes to D. Walking to class. Well, that's the end of our lesson for today course, and we come to a conclusion now. So first, you pay attention to the speaker's tone of voice. For instance, whether the speaker sounds excited, sad, or confused. It can help you answer questions that are about the speaker's attitude or opinion. And then, if you are unsure of the correct answer or response, try to figure out which choice is most consistent. And then, number three, listening question must be answered in order. So once you click on OK, you cannot go back to the previous question. And the last is, don't forget to continue to build your English skills by listening to movies, TV, and radio in English. Doing this regularly will have a great impact.